Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are looking at, well, really one of the most compelling single sources we've ever come across. It's a first-person account of a near-death experience.
And it follows this absolutely devastating car accident back in 1988. It's not just some vague story either.
No, not at all. This comes directly from Rickalan. He was a U.S. Marine private at the time, fresh out of boot camp.
And our goal here really is to dig into the details. We want to pull out the shocking contrast between the intense physical trauma, we're talking a broken neck, serious head injury, and this incredibly serene, profound experience he had while technically out of his body.
It's quite the narrative. A road trip that goes catastrophically wrong, leading to this unexpected, almost forced glimpse into, well, the nature of consciousness itself.
Yeah. So let's set the scene a bit. It's July 1st, 1988. Rickalan and his friend Andy, they're heading out on a 4-day pass.
Right, driving a 1972 Plymouth Trail Duster, going from their base up toward Pittsburgh. But even before they properly got going, something really strange started happening, almost like a weird foreshadowing.
Exactly. The account starts with this almost unbelievable detail. Rickalan talks about experiencing this extreme, completely inexplicable sleepiness. He actually called it his sleeping sickness.
Sleeping sickness. But he says he was well rested, right?
Totally well rested. Yet he just could not keep his eyes open. It was overwhelming.
Okay, so you've got a 4-day pass, this long drive planned, and suddenly you can barely stay awake. That's deeply odd.
It is. And this strange exhaustion leads directly to a crucial moment, something that probably saved his life, involving their third friend, Richie.
Ah, yes. Richie steps in.
He does. They'd stopped for gas, and Richie basically sees the Marine struggling, almost passing out. He tells him, and this is a direct quote from the source, "Bitch, if you're gonna sleep, you're getting him back."
Subtle.
Not exactly. And then Richie physically picks him up and puts him in the backseat of the trail duster to sleep it off.
And Rickalan himself points to that moment that, forced relocation to the backseat is the thing that definitely saved him.
Absolutely. He's quite clear on that. If he'd been in the front passenger seat, well, it would likely have been fatal given what happened next.
The positioning was everything. Okay, let's get into the incident itself. The catastrophic part, they're driving, heading up a mountain, then the descent. This is where it all goes wrong.
Horribly wrong.
Yeah.
The source says the master cylinder just disintegrated right after they crested this really steep mountain grade.
Oh, wow. Instantly no brakes.
Instantly no brakes. They were doing maybe 30 miles per hour, but on that steep downhill, they started picking up speed really, really fast.
What did the driver do?
Andy, the driver, was apparently doing incredible maneuvers, trying desperately to slow them down, even jammed the gear stick into reverse, trying to create any kind of drag.
Anything to stop it.
Right. They slide, just careening down this mountain. The source says for an impossible 2 miles downhill. Just imagine that terror.
2 miles until they couldn't hold a curve anymore.
Exactly. Failed to make the last curve and slammed head-on into what he describes as an enormous pine tree.
And the injuries. They really paint a picture of the violence of that impact.
They're horrific and very specific in the account. Andy, the driver, was pinned by the steering wheel. His left leg wasn't just broken, it was shattered. The source mentions at least 17 breaks.
17. Good grief. And Richie, the friend who moved Rickalan.
Richie was knocked unconscious. He had several broken ribs, and tragically, one of those ribs had punctured his aorta. He was in critical condition immediately.
A punctured aorta. That's incredibly serious. Time is absolutely critical there.
Extremely. And then there's Rickalan in the back. Even though being moved likely saved his life, he wasn't unscathed. Far from it.
What were his injuries?
He ended up with 192 stitches to his head, a broken ring finger, and the big one, the injury he didn't even realize he had yet, a fractured C1 vertebra.
The C1. That's the very first bone in your neck, right? The atlas bone. It holds up your skull.
That's the one. A broken neck, essentially, along with severe head trauma.
Wait. A broken C1, 192 stitches in his head, and he woke up and got out of the car. How is that even possible?
It's staggering, isn't it? The adrenaline, the shock. It must have been overwhelming. He somehow climbs out the back of this wrecked vehicle, stumbles to the front, and actually tries to help the driver, Andy.
Tries to pull him out.
Yeah, but Andy screams in pain. Remember, his leg is shattered and he's pinned. And in that moment, Andy, probably reverting to instinct and training, shouts the only thing he knows Rickalan has to obey.
The military command.
Yes. Private, go for help. That's a direct order.
Wow. And that just cuts through everything. The pain, the confusion.
Apparently so. That direct order seems to override the chaos. It triggers that deep marine conditioning. He has a mission now, even in that state.
Okay, so he gets the order, go for help, but he's bleeding heavily from the head, likely concussed, definitely in shock, and has a broken neck he doesn't know about. Where does he even go?
Well, this is where the head trauma really starts messing with his reality. He takes off into the darkness, bleeding badly, confused, and crucially, he thinks he knows a shortcut back to the base.
But he's nowhere near his base, right? He's in Pennsylvania.
Exactly. He's not in North Carolina. He's wandering off deep into the dense forests of Western PA, completely lost, but convinced he knows where he is.
And the delusion that follows.
Huh.
It's specifically military themed, isn't it? Because that's his frame of reference.
It is. It's fascinating. Psychologically, he's not just seeing random things. He starts seeing what he believes are Marine snipers.
Snipers.
Yeah, in full camouflage, positioned by various trees. And he's desperate, trying to complete his mission. He goes up to them, pleads with them, tells them about the crash, begs them to radio for help. He even insists, "I'm not part of your drill."
Oh, man. And they don't respond.
The first one just shakes his head no. So he doesn't give up. He goes to another tree, finds another sniper, tries again. He's trying to give a status report, request assistance, basically executing the order, go for help, within this completely fractured, hallucinatory reality.
It's like his brain is trying to function, trying to follow orders, but the input is just scrambled by the trauma, a trauma-induced tactical delusion.
That's a good way to put it. He's trying to survive using the only framework that makes sense to him at that moment, even though it's totally disconnected from where he actually is.
And eventually his body just gives out.
Yeah, he reaches his absolute physical limit. He screams out into the night, "Won't somebody help me? I'm gonna die out here." Then he trips, falls hard onto a mossy log, and finally, mercifully perhaps, loses consciousness.
While he's out there, lost, what's happening back at the crash site? Things must have been escalating.
Oh, absolutely. The source confirms the severity. First responders needed the jaws of life to extract Andy. A helicopter was called to airlift him to Pittsburgh.
And Richie, with the aorta.
He was already being rushed into emergency surgery. And meanwhile, state troopers were actively deployed searching the woods specifically for the lost Marine. His disappearance was a major alert.
So the situation is incredibly dire all around. And then Rickalan wakes up again on the log.
Yes. And this is where we really cross the threshold into the NDE territory. The way he describes waking up is strange. He says he felt warm and safe, like I had slept for a week.
Like he'd slept for a week after that ordeal. That's odd in itself. But the timing thing is even weirder, isn't it?
That's the kicker. He looks up and sees light, noting that the sun seemed to be directly overhead. He assumes it's around noon.
But it wasn't noon.
Not even close. The responders who eventually found him confirmed the time was actually 5:30 a.m., just before dawn.
So that bright light he saw, the one he felt was sort of leading him towards a path, it wasn't the midday sun at all.
No. Whatever that light was, it wasn't the actual sun high in the sky. That time discrepancy is, I think, one of the most compelling parts of this account.
He follows this path, somehow makes it to a road, and flags down a state trooper. But he's still not fully grasping reality, is he?
Not yet. He's still got that head trauma denial going on. He actually insists to the trooper quite defensively that he was not in an accident.
How does the trooper handle that?
Very directly. Tells him simply, look at yourself. And seeing his clothes, covered in blood, that finally breaks through some of the denial, he concedes, maybe I was in an accident.
Okay, so reality is starting to creep back in. But the trigger for the actual NDE, the moment he leaves his body, is still purely physical, right? Linked to that hidden neck injury.
Exactly. He goes to sit down by the side of the road, and instinctively, he reaches up and grabs his neck because it's throbbing with pain.
Just that simple movement.
That simple movement is enough. He immediately passes out, and the trooper, seeing this, likely recognizing signs of a severe spinal injury, radios in that chilling update. Oh my God, he's got a broken neck.
And that's the moment. The instant he loses consciousness from the neck injury.
That's the instant. Physical collapse, and then separation.
This is where the story shifts entirely. He's not in his body anymore.
No. He describes suddenly finding himself standing on the berm again, watching the scene below. He realizes he's floating. He looks down at all the activity around the ambulance, and his first thought is, man, that guy is messed up.
And then the realization hits him.
Then the dawning horror, or perhaps just surprise. Wait, that's me.
How did he know for sure? apart from just recognizing himself.
The details confirmed it for him. He specifically mentions watching the EMTs cutting off his clothes, his new USMC shirt, and his Levi jean jacket, things he'd just bought and was wearing. That specificity convinced him this wasn't a dream or hallucination. He was objectively watching his own body from outside.
Okay, let's talk about the state itself. What was it like being out of body? He describes his awareness as different.
Radically different. He says his level of consciousness and alertness was higher than normal, more vivid, not duller or dreamlike, but sharper.
Sharper? How so?
Well, he mentions hearing the EMTs calling out his medical stats, almost like the information was just present in his awareness, even though he wasn't consciously trying to listen.
And his reaction to floating, to being bodiless? Wasn't he shocked or scared?
That's what's profound. He says he wasn't shocked at all. He realized he was floating and felt completely at home. And this is a direct quote again, I was used to not having feet.
Used to not having feet. That implies such a deep, innate familiarity with that state of being.
Doesn't it? It suggests that non-physical existence felt more natural, or at least equally natural to him in that moment. And the emotional tone matches classic NDEs. Incredible peace, happiness, pleasantness.
And that feeling of connection.
Yes, a sense of being no longer in conflict with nature. He felt totally connected to everything around him, saying, I just felt connected to it all, like the boundaries had just dissolved.
Beyond the feeling, though, he talks about gaining specific knowledge, right? Insights.
Absolutely. He mentions a clarity of thought far beyond his normal capacity. But more significantly, he describes gaining this direct, intuitive knowledge about premoral existence, knowing he existed before this life.
And that's where the umbrella analogy comes in.
Exactly. It's such a striking analogy. He says the feeling of knowing he'd been on that side before he was born was like when you're at work and you quickly run home during the day, not to stay, but just to grab my umbrella or something.
Wow. That makes the metaphysical seem almost mundane, like popping back to the real place for a moment before returning to the temporary place.
Precisely. It frames this life as the temporary excursion, the workday, and the other side as home, the default state. It wasn't a belief he formed, it was knowledge he received.
Did he learn anything else? About his purpose, maybe?
Yes, he felt a strong sense that he was safe and protected, and that his being there, this whole experience, was part of some larger plan or purpose. He wasn't just randomly experiencing this.
There was also that interesting detail about not being supposed to learn too much.
Right, there were inherent rules, an intuitive understanding that while he was there, he wasn't meant to gain excessive knowledge, almost like a safeguard for those who have to return. It suggests the experience, while transcendent, had boundaries.
So peace, connection, knowledge, but it had to end. The return journey sounds much less pleasant.
Much less pleasant. He describes feeling himself being pulled back towards the ambulance, and he knew instantly it was going to hurt. His words were that he slammed into my body screaming in pain.
Slammed back in. Ugh. And that's when the EMTs knew he was conscious again.
Apparently, he came back screaming, and the next thing he heard was someone yelling, "He's back!"
What an incredibly abrupt and agonizing transition. From total peace to pure physical agony in an instant.
It really highlights the stark contrast between the two states of being, the ease of the non-physical versus the harsh reality of a severely injured body.
So, looking back, how did this whole ordeal affect him long term?
He says the memory is absolutely indelible, burned into my soul. His belief in the reality of what he experienced has never wavered, not for a moment. He feels he can replay it perfectly, like watching a video.
And the fear of death.
Completely gone. He states that explicitly. He lost all fear of dying.
That seems common in these deep NDE accounts.
It is. And if you tie it all together, you have this extreme physical trauma, the C1 break, the head injury, witnessing his friend's critical injuries happening simultaneously with all the classic markers of a profound NDE. The OBE, the light, the peace, the feeling of connection, the acquired knowledge about existence and purpose.
It's quite a package. Did it change his religious views?
Interestingly, yes, but perhaps not how you might expect. It didn't necessarily reinforce his existing beliefs. He actually moved away from formal Christianity afterwards.
Oh, so he became an atheist.
No, not at all. He describes himself as becoming secularly unaffiliated, but holding on to a very deep, unshakable belief in the universe and some form of higher power. The knowledge he gained wasn't about specific doctrines, it was more fundamental, more about the nature of existence itself.
So the experience gave him conviction, but not necessarily within a traditional religious box.
Exactly. It was a personal, direct revelation that reshaped his entire worldview. A collision of extreme physical trauma and, well, spiritual clarity. The military discipline, the accident, the NDE, they all weave together into this single life-altering event.
Which brings us back to that really fascinating specific detail we mentioned earlier, the one for you, the listener, to
Yeah.
maybe ponder.
Right. That time discrepancy. We know he was found around 5:30 a.m., pre-dawn. Yet when he woke on that log, he felt safe, warm, and saw an unusually bright light he genuinely mistook for the noon sun. And that light seemed to guide him to the road.
So the question lingers.
If that guiding light wasn't the actual sun, what was it? Given the profound sense of peace, protection, and connection he felt in that moment, just before consciously re-entering the NDE state. What exactly was illuminating his path out of the woods and back towards help? Was it just a residual effect of the head injury or something else?
Entirely. Definitely food for thought. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Thank you for listening to Borrowed Time NDE Podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss a moment of inspiration. Until next time, wishing you an extraordinary and truly wonderful time on your journey through life.